écrit la veille.
What kind of man is Dr. Swansea?
Well, you accepted the job from him. I thought you would have known about your employer.
It's right to assume Dr. Swansea knows far more about me than I do about him.
You'll get to know him soon enough, and better than me. The administrator has better things to do than mix with us.
Apologies, I've only just met him the once. This is sudden. I've only just returned to England.
Dr. Swansea is a brilliant surgeon and the most compassionate physician.
Bon, on apprend des choses sur lui là. Non, c'est pas ça, c'est là. 6000. Ouf. Et elle, 2000. Mais lui, 6000. Alors, bien sûr. Hein? Pourquoi c'est grave? Mais il a déménagé. Il a déménagé comme Doubs, comme Fritz, comme Marie, comme tous les quatre. Ils sont tous les quatre déménagés. Forcément, s'il déménage.
Thank you, Nurse Crane.
Au revoir, madame. Alors.
Good evening, sir.
So it is true. The famous Dr. Reed has joined us. I can't think of any better news during these terrible times.
Do we know each other?
Actually, yes. We met once before, at the Rockefeller University in New York.
Dr. Tippett, yes, I remember. I was assisting Professor Carell in his research about coronary bypasses. He had nothing but praise for you.
He was also very confident about your future. And look at you now. Eminent surgeon and blood transfusion specialist.
Là, je suis en train de rencontrer tout le monde ici. Je vais être heureux, je vais être refait. Je vais rencontrer tout le monde. Je vais faire waouh. Et je vais tous les buter. C'est faux. Je ne buterai personne. Non, parce que vous savez, buter des gens c'est compliqué. Après, c'est de caca quoi. Je buterai personne. Je vais galérer avec mon niveau de merde parce que j'aurais buté personne. Mais au moins, j'aurais buté personne. Tout est fermé. Je ne peux rien faire.
What is the Pembroke Hospital situation? And please, speak freely.
This hospital is not exactly the best of London. I'm sure you are used to working in a better environment.
It's more than enough. In any case, the personnel of a hospital are much more important to me than the building.
Don't be misled by appearances, Dr. Reed. This hospital does not lack talented people. It just lacks hope.
What is the Pembroke Hospital situation? And please, speak freely.
This hospital is not exactly the best of London. I'm sure you are used to working in a better environment.
It's more than enough. In any case, the personnel of a hospital are much more important to me than the building.
Don't be misled by appearances, Dr. Reed. This hospital does not lack talented people. It just lacks hope.
What can you tell me about the staff in the hospital?
Some are really good, and others are not so good. But during this troubled period, there is no time for slander. I prefer to focus on the positive character traits.
Tell me more about cherished people, then.
Nurse Brannigan is a pearl. She is the most helpful and dedicated nurse I've ever worked with. A clever and cheerful woman.
You really seem to admire her skills.
I'll go even further. If she was a man, she would be a damn fine practitioner.
Any opinion about the management?
I don't always agree with Dr. Swansea's reserve, but I must admit he does all he can to keep this facility running during this crisis.
Ah yes, the burden of command. I was fed up with this concept while serving as a medical officer.
Don't get me wrong. Swansea's a good administrator. I just wish he would get out of his office now and again.
Oh.
Do you need any medical assistance yourself, Doctor?
Come on, don't be ridiculous, dear colleague.
J'ai rien. J'ai rien. Putain qu'elle est vieille. Putain qu'elle est moche.
Goodbye, Dr. Tibbets.
Voilà, c'est ça, au revoir. Ça va être long de parler aux gens un à un. Mais bon.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm new here.
I've already heard about you, Dr. Reed. I'm Milton Hooks, the ambulance driver for this shithole of a hospital.
That's quite a blunt introduction, Mr. Hooks.
You can call me Milton. I like to speak my mind, Dr. Reed. Perk of the job. Don't judge me, and I won't judge you.
I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about.
Well, I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure a gun can't be used as a surgical instrument.
You have a keen eye. I learned to shoot during the war, and have carried one ever since. Old habits die hard.
No need to explain, Dr. Reed. And if you ever need a better gun, remember, I may have something for you.
Mais un marchand. Qui êtes-vous? Que me voulez-vous? Ah, il a un entourage. Lui, c'est le pilier, quoi. Pour une niveau 2, la pauvre, en plus, c'est un pilier. Si tu la butes, c'est la fin du monde. Ah, il est niveau 2. Triste.
Are you really smuggling weapons through the hospital?
And why not? I've already been attacked by patients, you know. And by gang members willing to steal my money.
But you're not defending yourself. You're selling guns to civilians.
You keep people alive your own way, Doctor. I offer them another way to protect their health.
Monsieur, il est
How
dangereux.
is the situation around here?
You want to hear the situation is all right? It's fucking awful. We lack everything. And it's getting worse every day.
Bon, si c'est que ça.
So what do you do exactly in this hospital? Apart from smuggling guns, I mean.
I've been an ambulance driver since... too long, I guess. I bring sick people here night and day. It's a dirty job, but I get it done. Most of the time.
Since you're on the front line, how is the sanitary situation in this vicinity?
It's a complete disaster. It's even getting dangerous to enter some streets or buildings. Even the locals attack you.
It sounds like things have been a bit rough recently. What's happened?
Yesterday I got attacked by the patient I was bringing here. I escaped through the hospital's garden, but I lost my wallet when I was running.
You left an infected patient outside the hospital. That's incredibly dangerous.
Go there yourself if you want, but be careful, Doctor. I'd rather not bring your dead body back.
I'd like to see your goods.
Wise choice, Dr. Reed. A reliable gun is what everybody needs these days.
Ah, il a beaucoup de bêtises, hein.
these men? They're a company of professional vampire hunters.
Attends, je te chope au passage. Pif!
Good evening, nurse.
Good evening, Doctor. I don't think we've been introduced yet. My name is Pippa Hawkins.
And I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. Dr. Swansea has recently offered me a position in this hospital.
Well, it's a euphemism that your help will be appreciated, Doctor.
C'est moi-même, zéro, la meuf, elle a dit ce serait un euphémisme de dire que votre aide serait la bienvenue. Tu me détestes, meuf? Je te connais même pas, bonjour, t'es qui? J'avais dit que je tuerais personne, par contre, toi t'as une place réservée, hein. Ah, mais en plus, c'est. Ouais, bah super quoi.
How would you describe the situation at Pembroke Hospital?
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
Nurse Hawkins, the Spanish flu won't last forever. Even the Black Plague didn't kill everyone.
I wish I could believe you. But what if this epidemic was worse? What if in the end, nobody was spared?
You must get a hold of yourself, nurse.
Sorry, I'm exhausted. No one has any idea when this epidemic will be over.
How long have you been a nurse?
Well, long enough to see that the epidemic is winning. And no matter how qualified you are, don't tell me you'll change that.
You're right. When dealing with such a terrible disease, one must remain humble. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try our best.
Sorry, Doctor. I don't want to sound bitter, but I'm just too tired to give a pep talk like Nurse Brannigan.
How is the Pembroke staff coping with the epidemic?
Not well. Milton, the ambulance driver, is even more grumpy than usual, especially concerning doctors.
Why is Milton grumpy on a daily basis? Is it just an act?
Milton's not the kind of man who's bothered about a bad reputation, whether he deserved it or not.
Oh.
Why does Milton dislike doctors?
I don't know. Just ask him. But be warned, Milton is not the chatty type.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Tentative d'un. Bah, tentative de R. Puisque les gens disparaissent. Voilà.
I thought last summer's epidemic was difficult.
Les gens disparaissent, du coup
Good
tentative de
evening,
R.
Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
Why do you have such a mediocre reputation among your colleagues, Milton?
Fuck them. Nobody knows the horrors I've seen since working here. This city was sick long before the epidemic, Dr. Reed.
I know it's a difficult task, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the job you are paid to do?
I've seen babies left to die while their brothers were properly fed. Underage girls and boys sold to all manner of perverts.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, exactly. We lack words. So excuse me if I don't look on the bright side of life.
Et là, on n'a rien appris. Passe. Passe, c'est méchant ça.
Goodbye, Milton.
Au revoir. J'ouvre la caisse. Chut. J'ai ouvert la caisse devant ta gueule, qu'est-ce que tu vas faire? Fils de pute. C'est long en fait de parler à tout le monde. Très long. Mais elle est partie où elle? Ah, il est là le truc. Mais elle est partie où elle? Ah, elle est là. Reviens. Reviens. Oh. Attends. Il y a un truc intéressant qui se passe là.
Dr. Swansea is right. This place seems perfect to conduct my research.
I'm sorry you ended up on a plain and broad medical bench, sir. I understand you must be very angry about this unfair situation.
You don't mind if I search your pockets, do you, sir? You won't need any of these anyway. I'm not stealing from you, mister. I'm only redistributing your belongings to people who need them more than you. You see, no one has claimed your body, sir, so it would be such a shame to bury you with your valuables. I will not forget you, sir. And I thank you for your generous donation.
Je vois des trucs, moi, je te dis. Discussion là-bas, c'est fini. Fuck. Oh, vous m'emmerdez avoir fait 3 trucs en même temps, là. Mais je devienne fou. À la base, je voulais parler à une personne. Mais où était là? Bonjour, madame.
Good evening, nurse. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, the new Pembroke.
Dr. Swansea has already told us about you, sir. I'm Nurse Gwyneth Brannigan. Welcome to the Pembroke Hospital.
Did he really? It's a good thing I wasn't hoping to keep a low profile.
All members of staff have already read about your new blood transfusion technique. Dr. Swansea made sure of that.
I see. Well, I'm a little surprised, but I suppose I'll just have to deal with this unexpected notoriety.
You must know, blood transfusions are Dr. Swansea's primary subject of research. He is convinced it is the future.
How are things here?
Not good, to say the least. We're struggling against an invisible enemy, more lethal than any bullet from a gun. It's hard, Doctor.
An invisible enemy? Quite a poetic term for a disease, especially from a nurse.
Sorry, Doctor. These last few weeks have been exhausting. We could all do with a good night's sleep.
Do you think this hospital can survive the epidemic?
We are all volunteers here, and we're trying to hold fast, but how do we beat an invisible killer? Some nurses have already resigned.
I'm not familiar with all the staff yet. Perhaps you could help me.
Brilliant professionals, most of them. Dr. Swansea has a gift for recruiting talent.
Most of them. Is there a problem I should know about, nurse?
It would be inappropriate for me to speak ill of a colleague.
Is there anyone that stands out?
Well, I have never met someone as dedicated as Dr. Tippets. He should be a standard for us all here. If only he were younger.
Why should his age be a problem?
I guess it's fair to say he's always pushing himself to the limits. He just doesn't know when to stop and get some rest.
Nurse Brannigan, if you do know something, please tell me. Anything you say will be held in confidence.
No. I may disagree with some conduct, but in the end, everybody is doing their best.
Elle ne veut rien dire. Quelle petite...
Why does Dr. Tippets claim you're the main reason he keeps working, despite his fatigue?
If it wasn't for him, I probably would have left the Pembroke years ago.
Dr. Tippets does not think of you as just a nurse anymore, does he?
If you're suggesting he's not taking my gender into consideration when it comes to medical practice and knowledge, I really hope he doesn't.
Ho ho.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need.
Ho ho. On apprend des choses, on apprend des choses. Monsieur!
Good evening, Dr. Tippets.
Dr. Reed, any good news to share?
Fuck. Ah.
You're exhausting yourself, Corcoran. Maybe you should think about preserving your strength.
No. We must keep on healing all those poor souls. We are the last rampart before chaos. Once more unto the breach.
Nurse Brannigan is worried about you, Doctor.
She should not have told you that. I will have a word with her.
You don't have to blame her for her honesty.
I'm not that kind of man, my dear Jonathan. Actually, Nurse Brannigan's opinion is the only one I may listen to.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippets.
Là, il parle de nouveau. Vite, 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 vite. Vite, 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 vite.
You always needed words to calm the children, Ellen. As for me, what a blundering idiot.
Fuck, fuck, fuck. Fuck, 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 fuck. Run! C'est bon, j'ai le temps.
How can I be sure I'll not find your unconscious body in the house again?
I promise you, you'll not find my unconscious body.
For God's sake, how can you say such a thing?
How can you refuse to listen? I tried to warn you for so long.
No, I won't let my only son die. You promised me you'll stay alive.
Your son lied to you, like the whole world lies to us.
Je découvre des choses cachées et puis je me casse. Allez, j'écoute les conversations puis je me casse. Voilà. Pratique, efficace et pas cher. Je viens, j'écoute les gens, je me barre. Tout, tout, tout.
Good evening, sir. Can I help you?
Unless you're here to fix my face. No. I don't think you can help me.
I'm Dr. Reed. I've recently taken the position of head surgeon here. War injuries, am I right?
You guessed right, Doctor. German shell took my pretty little mug right off. But they They still call me Thomas Elwood.
Where were you stationed, sir? Did you serve for long?
I really don't want to talk about all this shit.
I was pushing too much. I served in France myself. I just wanted to know what happened to you.
You were an officer, weren't you? Then I doubt we fought the same war, sir. No offense.
How is your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss. I just escaped death in the trenches to be surrounded again by the moans of the dying.
Can I ask you precisely why you're a patient here?
It's the pain, sir. The drugs don't work. It just hurts under the scars, if you get my drift.
Can I do anything for your pain?
Nurses gave me a bunch of pills. No effect. Told you. It's like the flames are under my skin, burning away.
Who is treating you? Is someone in particular looking after your case?
Nobody since the old and tired doctor spoke to me. Started to think I was forgotten about. Wouldn't blame you.
You don't seem worried by that.
My face hurts so much more when I smile or cry. I've learned it's easier not to speak. But be assured I'm smiling inside.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Disgust on every street corner. The daily routine.
Good evening, Mr. Hampton. How do you feel?
Dr. Reed, is it? Oh, sir, I must apologize for my behavior.
What do you mean?
I was not myself in the factory. Fear and exhaustion made me say awful things to you, I'm afraid.
You remained perfectly nice and polite. A little delirious, perhaps. But who wouldn't be after enduring an abduction?
Thank you, Doctor. That's a relief. Now all I need to do is rest and return to my flock.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Hampton? I can't help but notice the cross around your neck.
I manage a night asylum for the poor and homeless of the docks. And I try to guide the lost and hesitant on the right path to our Lord.
Are you a priest, Mr. Hampton? A deacon, maybe?
Not at all, Doctor. I'm just a man of faith willing to preach the good word.
Why didn't you use your cross against William Bishop? To repel him somehow?
That's a very strange question, Doctor. A cross is no magical token, if that's what you were trying to say. Not mine, anyway.
Have you made friends since you arrived?
Not really, but I recognize Miss Harriet Jones. I knew her when she lived by the docks. That poor woman had such a miserable life.
You never came to see her here at Pembroke? Receiving visits when sick can be an important part of the healing process, you know. We're not just bodies.
You're preaching to the converted now, Doctor. To be truly honest, I thought she was dead. She left the docks many months ago.
How do you feel, Mr. Hampton? Medically speaking, I mean.
I feel exhausted. Beyond exhaustion, actually. William drank so much of my blood in his madness. I feel empty.
You're in good hands here. Dr. Swansea is well versed in blood transfusion, and I'm sure he'll take the best care of you.
Thank you, sir. I believe all I need is rest, and then I can go back to the people who need me.
How did you end up in William Bishop's den?
I had received alarming news about his recent behavior. I went to his place, and he refused to let me go.
Why did he abduct you?
William was an alcoholic. His addiction suddenly changed to blood. I don't know why. Just like a patient I met here. This Miss Hawcroft.
You dared to enter this awful place alone. You're a hero, Mr. Hampton. Or a fool.
I'm just a man trying to help his friends, Dr. Reed. William Bishop was a conflicted soul, searching for light.
Do you know Tom Watts, the bartender from the Turtle? I met him before I found you in the canning factory.
Tom? Yes, of course. Always the helping hand, good old Tom. Without men like him, corruption and despair would have wiped out the East End long ago.
Who should I avoid in this part of town, then? Any particularly evil figures?
Not really. Most men and women are just doing their best. And it's not my habit to speak ill of people I know, Doctor.
People are still in despair.
How could it be otherwise? The authorities have left us all to rot in this contagious nightmare. No drugs, no advice, nothing. It's a damn shame.
What is the general situation in the East End docks?
The situation has always been tough, with a lot of tensions between the gangs and the Dockers Trade Union. The Wet Boot Boys are very nervous since they lost their leader.
Who leads the gang now?
Since Clay Cox went missing, it's his wife Edwina who runs the show, with the assistance of her minion, Booth Digby.
Has the gang been threatening you?
Ah, no. I've had this nickname for so long, you know, the sad saint of the East End. No one dares to bug a saint, not even criminals.
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later.
Daily routine.
Scowl voices in the garden. I should investigate. If they were to find somebody.
Ah, il fait mal. Rends-moi ma vie, petit con. Et maintenant, gras. Et voilà. Bravo, en même temps, c'était pas compliqué. Mais il y a un bordel. Mais attends, il y a l'hôpital collé à ça? Mais comment font-ils? Ah mais je deviens fou! Non, c'est des vampires. Je deviens fou! Voilà. Bah oui, mais bon, quand ils sont assoiffés de sang, ils ont plus trop de cerveau, madame. Merde, pourquoi j'ai fait... Putain, je suis un con. Mais où suis-je? Mais qu'est-ce que je branle? Mais vers où vais-je? Moi, je voulais juste parler à tous les gens. J'arrête mes bêtises. J'arrête d'aller n'importe où. On va suivre le truc secondaire. On va faire tac. Ah, du sang. Ah, un journal.
So, Mr. Hooks and Nurse Hawkins are an item. Those two have hidden their affections well.
Ah, ils sont ensemble. Ah. Il y a des rats qui traînent au sol, comme ça j'absorbe leur sang et on est tous contents. j'ai vu un truc, j'annule tout. Ah, j'ai vu un truc. Avis au public. R à foutre. Au revoir.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
I have some good news, Milton.
What? The epidemic's over?
I retrieved your wallet, with all the money and a certain picture.
Well, yeah, Pippa Hawkins is my girl. So what? Is it the difference of skin colour that bothers you?
Not at all, Milton.
Good. Please, take this money anyway. To remind you to keep your mouth shut. Not everybody is as broad-minded as you, Dr. Reed.
Oh.
What's going on between you and Nurse Hawkins?
Pippa's tired. Tired of all this shit. Tired of all those corpses piling up. She's as depressed as I am.
During the war, I witnessed a few couples just like you come together in difficult circumstances. It can be very damaging.
Maybe you're right. But we support each other. And that's all that matters.
You do realize you could both get fired. Hospital staff are not meant to have intimate relationships with one another.
Come on, Dr. Reed. Do you know how many rules are broken in this hospital every day just to keep it running? There's nothing wrong with what we're doing.
Goodbye, Milton. It's locked, all right.
Il y a une personne qui est dans cette salle verrouillée, super.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Putain, ça marche pas avec elle? Ah, c'est bien caché.
I know you're very close to Milton Hooks.
Yes. Milton Hooks is my man. If you want to report me for that, just feel free, Doctor.
I have no intention of reporting you, Nurse Hawkins. But are you aware of the risks?
The rules say I won't be allowed to work as a nurse anymore. But here at the Pembroke, we break rules all the time.
Is he worth the risk?
Hey, I'm no perfect woman, and Milton is not the finest bloke. But we do our best to get by. That's all any of us can hope for nowadays.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Ouais, du coup on va parler à l'autre folle. Bonjour la folle.
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon at the Pembroke Hospital. And who are you?
Your name has no meaning to me, mortal. You're nothing but dust blown by the winds of eternity.
I beg your pardon?
What are you begging for, mortal? My clemency? Well, tonight maybe I'm inclined to mercy. You'll never forget the night you met Thelma Howcroft.
You keep calling me mortal. Why is that? And if I'm mortal, what are you?
Well, Dr. Reed, if you must know, I'm a vampire.
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft? I mean, apart from being a vampire.
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal? What do you require? Proof of my powers?
I'm curious to know who you were before becoming a vampire.
No, it was such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of unholy life can have strange effects on one's minds, you see?
And why do you believe you're a vampire?
I don't need to believe anything. It is what I am. It is what I feel within this hollow shell of flesh.
Please, describe to me how you feel. What is it like to be a vampire?
I can hear my body crumble from the inside as my flesh cracks and fades. I sense the last pulse of postulant blood within my drying veins. I need new blood.
I see. Have you ever heard of Cotard syndrome, Miss Howcroft?
Never.
It's a mental illness discovered by a French neurologist named Jules Cotard. The affected patients are delusional. They believe that they are putrefying, that they are dead, a ghost or a ghoul, or in your case, a vampire.
Delusional, you say? Oh, sad and petty mortal. You can't even begin to understand the concept of immortality. And you think it is I who am delusional.
I'm assuming you must be a patient here. Am I right, Miss Howcroft?
It's only a cover. To hide from my enemies. I can leave whenever I want. As a woman, a spirit, fog, or bat.
Who are these enemies you mentioned? Can you describe them?
I cannot say for sure. But I sense their eyes on me from nearby. I feel them watching me every time I visit the garden near the morgue.
The staff here are not your enemy. They're here to...
Ah, j'ai appuyé sur toutes les touches. Super. Oh, ça fait beaucoup là. Non, mais en tout cas, on est heureux quoi. Situation sanitaire satisfait. Je trouve que la situation sanitaire dans cet hôpital est satisfait, bien évidemment. Le jeu, il le croit en tout cas. 97% satisfait. Et dans le quartier Pourrave, il y a marqué stable. Tout va bien. Il reste combien de gens encore à rencontrer? Beaucoup trop. C'est long. Tu vois, c'est ça, jusqu'à maintenant, tu vois, j'avais parlé à 4 personnes dans le jeu, j'étais en mode ah putain, c'est quand même long jusqu'à personne. Là, je suis en train de parler à 18 personnes, je suis en mode ah, c'est vraiment long.
For I am a vampire.
I see. Don't worry. These people will not find you here. I'll personally make sure they leave you alone.
Thank you, mortal. But do not interfere with them, for you are no match for those that hunt me.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities. Good evening, Miss Howcroft. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
Allez, une enquête. Heureusement que je peux vraiment rien faire dans l'hôpital parce que vraiment des fois je me trompe de touche et ça peut donner un de ces masses, mais en plus je me trompe de touche, tu sais pourquoi? Genshin Impact, j'appuie sur L1 pour ouvrir la roue des menus, sauf que c'est pavé tactile. Oh, ça donne un truc comme ça, des quêtes secondaires. Genre, lui donne ça. Putain, j'ai presque tout trouvé sur lui, je pourrais bientôt le buter. Si seulement j'étais méchant. Mais je ne le suis pas. Du coup, en vrai, ça sert à rien que je me fasse chier à tous leur parler pour avoir des indices sur eux pour les buter. En vrai, ça sert à rien en vrai ce que je fais parce que de base, c'est censé avoir des indices sur eux pour que leur qualité de sang augmente. Pour avoir plus d'XP. C'est que le problème, c'est que m'en bats les couilles. Parce que je vais pas les buter. Parce que j'ai pas envie d'être méchant. Tu sais, moi je fais toujours ça en plus, c'est vrai. Je fais toujours le truc en mode ah, je suis gentil et tout et tout. Et une fois que j'ai fini, alors on va se défouler là. Oh putain. Ah, ça crie chez toi. Est-ce que c'est en train de crier à table? Du coup, il reste ce docteur, il reste bah, Dorothy, il reste ce docteur là, il reste cette meuf, et ce mec, et ce mec, et ce mec. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ok. Let me be a papillon. 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 Je sais pas, le jeu il m'a dit va vers là. Oh oui, le jeu il m'a vraiment dit va vers là. Oh oui. Let me be a papillon. Ah il me brûle. Quel fils de chien. Mangez. Meurs. Maintenant je vais m'amuser sur ton copain. Mangez. Voilà, il meurt. Voilà. Qu'est-ce qu'on s'amuse. J'ai découvert un truc sur elle. Non, pas ça. Non, pas ça. Non. Des pieux en bois. Trop bien. Soleil et feu. Ouais. J'ai appris un truc sur elle, non? Thelma est soupçonnée par les membres de la garde prévenue d'être un véritable vampire. Bah nice, hein, elle a une maladie qui lui fait croire comme quoi elle est une vampire et les gens la suspectent d'être vraiment une vampire, du coup elle va vraiment crever. C'est nice, je trouve que c'est nice. Non mais c'est nice. Ah bien, on ouvre la porte, je voulais faire des trucs avec carré, faut vraiment que j'arrête. 125, il faut que j'aille où? Faut que je traverse le pont et que j'aille dans le quartier là-bas. Oh, Whitechapel. Super Aurélie. Voilà. Whitechapel, c'est-à-dire qu'il y a une putain d'église. Il est encore plus grand que l'hôpital. Voilà. Du coup ça va être long. Moi qui fais des quêtes secondaires alors que j'ai même pas commencé à jouer. Ah, Whitechapel Street. État du quartier grave. Oh, Scalferos niveau 18. Et William Brolingir. Je suis niveau 4. Niveau 11. Oh, mais qu'est-ce que je prends? Je vais me faire one shot. Je vais comprendre ce que c'est le mot ferme ta gueule, fils de pute. Oh, bim, bim, bim. Oh. Tac, 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 tac. Tac, 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 tac. Tac, 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 tac. Tac, 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 tac. Tac, Et tac. Et tac. Et tac. C'est tellement long pour le buter. Il vient me mettre un coup, j'ai perdu la moitié de ma vie. J'ai failli me faire... Je me suis fait défoncer moi. Oups, allez bye bye bye, nique ta mère salope. Merde, ça suffit plus. Ta fils de chien. Mais 5 barres d'endurance, mais comment tu veux que je tue cette merde? Tac, tac. Aïe, tac, tac. Aïe, tac. 6 barres, allez, de plus en plus. Mais laisse-moi le temps de jouer, petit. Oh non. Par contre là ça va pas. Mais non mais. Je vais foutre des claques au jeu. Et pourquoi le jeu il me donne une quête dans un truc qui fait 10 fois mon niveau là? Oh putain, des parias. Ça y est, on parle de nouveau de parias. Horizon Zero Dawn présent avec nous. TKT c'est rien, c'est la famille. Paria. D'ailleurs faut que tu le fasses le jeu hein. Remember. La meuf elle a acheté le jeu, elle l'a même pas touché, elle a fait allez on achète on pose. Un peu comme mon Pokémon épée ou bouclier je ne sais plus qui est posé là-bas, il est toujours emballé hein. Il est toujours sous blister meuf. Je crois que je l'ai juste acheté pour la collection. Genre en mode, bah je l'ai, voilà, je suis content. Run, run, mais j'ai dit run, run. Dou 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 dou. Score. Score. Ah ça c'est bien. Merde. Pas bonne touche. Tada, tada, tada. Et ram nam 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 nam. Ram nam 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 nam. Et zra, et crée. Et Zara. Oh fuck de merde. Run. Dou 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 dou. On va arrêter les bêtises. Et on est propre. Oh, putain de merde. Ça fait beaucoup là quand même.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Always a pleasure to meet a colleague, sir. Especially when he was supposedly dead.
A colleague? Are you a doctor too?
Not anymore, sir. I used to be Dr. Rakesh Jadana. Now, I'm just Mr. Jadana. Pawnbroker and humble guardian of this morgue.
What do you mean? You used to be a doctor. Was your license revoked?
No, sir. It is just that I like to be precise. I run a little pawn shop while taking care of the dead. But I used to be a real doctor.
Please show me what you have to sell.
Of course. It's just trinkets and curios, really. But I'm sure they can be useful.
Il me vend quoi? Une formule unique. Pas ouf, hein. Ah non, vous m'emmerdez.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Such a pleasure to see you again.
Please show me.
Mais non, mais je...
Of course.
Ah!
Just trinkets and curios, really.
Putain, moi, il a un son de qualité ouf. Putain. Ouh. Oh, le pauvre, j'apprends Non mais lui il se fait tellement marave, genre t'as même pas besoin, genre il faut être niveau 1 de charme. Genre meuf, le mec tu le rencontres, t'as même pas besoin de lui discuter avec, tu peux le charmer, l'emmener, le buter, genre quelle tristesse. C'est triste un peu, non? Oh mais en vrai j'ai pas envie de les buter, mais j'ai envie de les buter, c'est compliqué la vie quand même. Non mais parce que tu sais quand tu vois tous ces gros chiffres là, la XP, genre 3000, t'es en mode... Oh, ce serait bien de les buter.
But I'm sure they can be useful.
Quand tu vois l'XP que ça donne, tu es en mode... Oh, les buter.
Such a pleasure to see you again.
Ouais, ça te fait plaisir toi aussi, you again.
A pawnbroker. I expect you get all types of people here.
Yes, sir. All kind of people. For I sell all kind of goods.
Who comes here to trade with you? It's very unhygienic, even unsafe. Diseases can spread. For the customers, for the hospital.
I'm very cautious, sir. I've been a doctor, remember? And all my clients are good people. In fact, I think I only know good people.
What kind of goods?
With the quarantine, it's not always easy to buy things. So I trade, I exchange. Some people sell, some others buy. I like to help.
How dare you steal from the dead, Rakesh? Is that what your pawnbrokers is really about?
These people are dead, sir. What they possess could be useful for the living. And I'm sure they would agree if they could speak.
You should show respect for the dead. What about their loved ones who may treasure these items you sell?
The bodies I watch over are the unwanted and undesired, sir. I would never deprive anyone of their family artifacts.
Fils de pute.
Are you afraid or uneasy being surrounded by so many corpses?
Why should I? These bodies are empty vessels. Flesh left to decay. Poof. No soul anymore. All gone.
An interesting point of view. And quite an exotic one, too. Most people fear, or at least have a respect, for dead flesh.
Sir, as a medic during the war, I learned to face my death and the death of others. It's the pain we have to tame, not death itself.
Aucune relation. Mais c'est qu'en plus en butant les gens tu perds tes marchands. Ça doit être compliqué. Sans marchand.
How did you get this job?
After I left the army, I worked as an undertaker down by the docks. A dangerous place with many an unpleasant business there. Milton Hooks helped me get a job here.
Do you work here alone?
Yes, very easy work, sir. All I have to do is watch a few bodies. The situation was very different when the main morgue was still open.
Why do you have to watch these bodies?
Because these poor fellows have no names. We keep them in case someone comes looking for the missing. Sadly, very rarely happens.
Why close the hospital's main morgue?
It was for sanitary reasons after the beginning of the epidemic. Cadavers had to be moved to the nearest mass grave.
Have we met before?
I don't think so, sir. Why?
When we first talked, you said you were glad to meet me since I was reported dead.
A funny story, sir. Your sister came here a few nights ago. You were missing, and she was looking for your body. She must be very relieved now.
C'est très drôle ce qui vient de se passer. Le mec il m'a dit bonjour, je vous croyais mort parce qu'en gros la sœur du perso principal elle est venue hier parce qu'on avait disparu et elle voulait savoir si notre cadavre avait atterri ici. Chose drôle, quand on s'est réveillé en étant un vampire, première personne qu'on a vue c'était notre sœur et on l'a butée. Chose drôle du coup, oh votre sœur Zagar vous a cherché, elle doit être vraiment heureuse de vous avoir retrouvé. Ah si tu savais, elle est vraiment heureuse là. Ah là elle est au plus haut point de la joie. En train de crever sur le bord de la route là.
Since you're not afraid of dying, do you believe in life after death, Rakesh?
No. I believe we must do all the good we can while alive. For our time is short and the obstacles are endless.
Do you think you would enjoy immortality as a concept?
I don't think so. Don't mistake me. I love life and I'd like to live a long life. But everything has to decay, sir. Even goodwill.
Do you really believe goodwill cannot last?
As I said, sir, everything decays. If I was to never die, goodness, I would be bored or worse. And I like to be helpful, sir.
Quite depressing, wouldn't you say?
Yes, but the good news is we'll all die before losing our humanity, sir.
So you're ready to die?
No, I am not. I don't fear death, for I won't see it. What troubles me is the pain my death will inflict to those I know.
You're a wise man, Mr. Chidana.
No, Dr. Reed. I am a foolish man. But I like to think otherwise.
Vas-y, m'a saoulé, il parle trop philosophique lui. Je suis qu'un idiot, mais je me pensais le contraire. Blablabla. Je crois qu'il m'a saoulé, je suis pas sûr. Bah alors? Bah alors? Bel-Air? 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 Ah, là-bas. Bel-Air. Ah, cette porte.
You always knew the words to calm the children, Ellen.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. May I help you?
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
Fiddick. Il s'appelle Fiddick. Il s'appelle Fiddick. Il s'appelle Fiddick. Il s'appelle Fiddick. Already. Il me reste plus beaucoup de gens à parler. Il me reste plus beaucoup à parler. Il me reste 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, ça fait quand même beaucoup. J'ai appuyé tellement vite, j'ai même pas vu.
Strickland and Aykroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work and to my family.
I was more curious about what you were doing before being hospitalized.
I'm a carpenter. And a good one, too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, but you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable. And your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies. Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
I will not let you down, my boy.
Une armoire remplie de flacons. Hop là, on l'a ouverte.
What can I do for you, Doctor?
Thank you, Nurse Crane.
La meuf, elle est remplie de sang. On dirait qu'elle a buté 6 enfants, là, au secours.
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True, true. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, but my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, and I may pass by if I have time. Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him? Or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior. A man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings with desires, hopes, and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones, and flesh.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father. Ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland. Good evening, Mr. Fiddick.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Any news about my operation?
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army. Building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
I'm sorry for your loss. So many died during the bombings. I served in France and witnessed the carnage there.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all that me kids have. Poor little bleeders.
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Helen didn't bring them with her that night.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
Ah, on apprend des choses, on apprend des choses.
Down, my boy.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I believe we're going to be colleagues.
Reed? Yes, I've been informed about your arrival. I'm Waverly Ackroyd. Welcome aboard, I suppose.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Swans's enthusiasm for hiring you. What we need here are reliable professionals, not overrated dabblers.
Il y en a insulté gratos là. Fais-moi voir là. Niveau 4. Oh putain, toi tu vas voler hein. Toi tu vas voler hein. Et pouf, il a volé.
If you have a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansea has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You will agree with that, I'm sure.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course, you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
There is no need for such animosity between us. Don't you think the epidemic is already enough to deal with?
That is one point we could agree on. And that is precisely why I want to be sure that you will be of help to this hospital instead of a burden.
Since your tenure in this hospital is longer than mine, perhaps you can tell me more about this place.
Let's just say I'm tired of the carelessness around me. I have always respected the skills of Dr. Swansea, but over time his enthusiasm has become displaced.
Carelessness? Exactly what are you talking about?
We're here to save lives. The people who trust us are not volunteering for experimentation. They're here to be healed.
I don't intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the boundaries of medical research.
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are rules in our line of work, and they're here to protect our patients.
Je vais le prendre, je vais l'éclater. Il m'énerve. Il m'énerve. Oh putain. Il m'énerve.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
And are you not afraid that your rivalry with Strickland may be blinding you?
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that. But I will never be childish enough to let my personal feelings affect my judgment.
Why do you wish to lead this surgery?
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be butchered to test an unproven procedure.
If you are going to lead this surgery, I'm trusting you to assume the consequences of your actions, whatever the result.
I'm not the kind of man who runs away from his responsibilities, Dr. Reed. There is no need for you to be looking over my shoulder.
I don't know what you've heard about me, but I have already proved my value as a practitioner.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Reed, but your motive. Is it money, fame, or are you truly dedicated?
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
I served in the war just like you. But unlike you, I did not use the wounded to play the modern sorcerer.
Be careful what you insinuate, Dr. Ackroyd.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
This is ridiculous. My blood transfusion technique saved many lives, and you know it.
You see? That is exactly what I hate about people like you. You avoid this kind of accusation instead of facing reality.
It seems you have bad memories of your military service.
I refuse to see this industrial slaughter as scientific progress. War only reveals the worst in men.
We can at least agree on something, Dr. Ackroyd. Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
Je vais l'enculer. Très bien. Je vais l'enculer. Ah ouais, je peux zoomer au point où le zoom devient ma vie, quoi. Ah oui, le zoom c'est ma vie en fait. Regarde, là il y a la petite rue et tout. Beaucoup de blabla, 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 beaucoup de blabla. Beaucoup de blabla, 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 beaucoup de bla et bla. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Stamina, mina. Au secours. Je suis en train de péter un câble. Stamina, mina. Capete.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No.
Really? Why are you here then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper and a pen?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your throat that hurts, Mr. Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of something more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even write about it now.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'll let you get some rest, then.
I'm alright. Don't waste your time with me.
So many deaths. Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
Admit it, Mortimer. Your mother had you hospitalized here because you tried to kill yourself.
Yes, it's true.
All right, then. This is the first time we've really shared information about your case. Shall we call this progress?
Call it what you want, Dr. Reed.
You can trust me. I won't report you to the authorities. My one and only concern is your health.
I guess I should thank you, then.
Can I help you in any way, Mr. Goswick?
I wrote a letter for my mother. She was supposed to read it after my death. But I suppose she doesn't have to read it now.
I see. And is this letter still near the place where you tried to take your own life?
Yes. And I don't want anyone reading my last words. I mean, I'm still here. If you bring me back that letter, then perhaps we'll talk.
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
I'm all right. Don't waste your time with me.
Good evening, madam. Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
Are you really that rich? Most of the patients here are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes. Thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are more ambitious about their futures than their families.
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
She charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
Your son wished to die, Beatrice. Why did you hide such crucial information?
Are you not aware suicide is a crime? Mortimer could be thrown in jail. I can't let that happen. I won't.
I understand you fear the legal consequences, Mrs. Goswick. But don't you realize your silence significantly affects your son's case?
All my son needs is help and comprehension. Not judgment and punishment for what he may or may not have done.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
Elle a un truc, et il y a quelqu'un d'autre qui avait un truc. Bah elle... tout simplement. Voilà, voilà. On a parlé. C'était pas vraiment élégant. On a parlé à tout le monde. Ça y est, c'est... Ça y est, c'est bon. On a fini, on a parlé à tout le monde. Mais faut encore que je parle à elle. Parce qu'il y a truc muche, machin, chouette. What the fuck? Mais pourquoi?
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Milton peut-être? Oh non non non. Autre chose. Pas bon, pas bon, pas bon. What is he brawling?
Don't worry, sir. Everything's going to be fine. I'm just going to go and get some.
Damn it! Why is this so difficult every time? That is better. That is better. I will make it through one more night.
J'ai cassé une caisse en courant. Tout va bien, j'ai un gros cul. Bon, monsieur, vous vous piquez, revenez là.
Good evening,
Dr. Reed, any good news to share?
Ah oui, je vous apporte de très bonnes nouvelles. Pourquoi vous vous piquez?
I know you're taking risks, Corcoran. Why take such a risk?
I need it to endure the long shifts. We have no idea how long the epidemic will last. We can't let it win.
I understand the gesture, Doctor. An immediate answer to an emergency situation, but this can't be a long-term solution.
Thank you for your understanding, my dear colleague. And be assured, I have total control of my consumption.
Ouais.
Goodbye,
ouais.
Dr. Tibbets.
Ouais. Une porte. Super. Et l'autre porte ici, attention. Une scie usée. Bah go, je vais me battre à la scie, c'est parti. Je vais tuer des gens, je vais les disséquer vivants. C'est parti. Je vais couper du jambon.
This must be the place. It's definitely away from prying eyes. Relegated to the shadows. A kingdom of my own. At least I won't be sleeping in a coffin. The flower's dying. It needs water. William Bishop's blood is much more unstable than human blood and shows extensive mutation. But this is not what happened to me. I must keep on searching. The sun is about to rise. I can feel it. I'll continue tomorrow night. I have so much time now. If I'm to stay here until my research is complete, I'd better learn to hide my true nature from the mortals. But what about my thirst for blood?
Ah, c'était tellement violent ce qui nous se passait là. Mon jeu il a crash. Bah normal, le jeu il a pas encore crash complètement, je suis à 0% sur l'erreur et elle veut pas avancer. C'est bon.